Brought to you as now, here are Bob Howell and Bob Ingram.
Good morning, I'm Bob Howell. We're at the historic state capitol in Montgomery, Alabama on Dexter Avenue. Bob Ingram, my colleague. A lot of things are going to be happening here today on Inauguration Day, the fourth time that George Wallace will take the oath of office.
History will be made. We say that so often, but and I'm afraid many times we don't realize the enormous significance of what's happening today, Bob. Never, ever in the history of Alabama has this occurred, where one man has been elected to a fourth term as governor. Without any doubt, future history books are going to devote page after page after page to this one event today. It's enormously significant.
Now, you've covered a lot of inaugurations. We were talking about that this morning.
That means I'm older than you. Go ahead, all right?
Let's go back and talk about some of the inaugurations that stand out in your mind.
Well, I suppose, and I'm sure there's some 30-ish age young ladies who will share this with me. I think the 1959 inauguration, for the pure, simple reason it was the coldest day in the history of mankind, and any number of high school majorettes were actually treated and hospitalized for frostbite and this sort of thing.
This was John Patterson's
inauguration. The George Wallace inauguration of '63 was rather cold, but today it's a beautiful day. A huge crowd is gathered here, and it's quite pleasant.
Well, you know, this also is going to be an inauguration, Bob, that is going to be significant in the sense that George Wallace has said we're in economic hard times right now, so we're going to cut back. We're going to cut the frills. We're going to cut a lot of the pageantry out this time.
I think he made an exceedingly wise decision in cutting back on this particular inauguration. For one, he's been here 3 times before, but certainly the economy, the expense of a parade would have just been enormous. The inaugural ball, the expense would have been enormous. I think he was applauded by everyone for having a very economy-minded inauguration today.
Let's tell everybody exactly what they can expect to see here today. We're starting out now at 11 o'clock. At 11:15 this morning, there will be an inaugural concert, which will be featuring the 151st Air Guard band here, the National Guard band. At 11:30 this morning is when the actual ceremonies themselves will begin. And also, along the way, there will be speeches. And you said that this is a first also, as far as you can remember, for having non-gubernatorial people being involved in the speeches.
Any number, well, all of the state officials who were elected in November or re-elected will be sworn in today, but in addition to that, both Attorney General Braddock and Lieutenant Governor Baxley will have remarks. I suspect they will be quite brief, but this is a slight variance from the past when it's been the governor's program. He is sharing this today with the other state officials. I think it's kind of nice.
Also, Governor Wallace is expected to make quite a lengthy speech, I guess you would say, as far as speeches go.
Yes, you may remember 4 years ago, Governor James had a rather brief speech, but normally it's most incoming governors use this as a forum, and it's a good one to outline their plans for the next 4 years. And as we know, having scooped it, we know what this speech is about. It's going to be heavy on the economy, as we would expect it to be.
We're going to find out more about what's happening here at the steps of the state capitol in Montgomery, Alabama, in just a moment. The 151st Guard Band is playing right now in the background, and Bob Ingram, a number of the notables who are going to be on the actual reviewing stand, if there were a parade today, have taken their place, and you've been keeping a close eye on some of the principals over there.
Well, of course, all of the new constitutional officers are on the stand up there. I've seen Chief Justice Torbert, who will himself, a little bit unusual, it happens about every, I guess, 12 years, he will be administered the oath of office, beginning his new term, and he will turn around and administer the oath to a number of others. I've seen former Governor John Patterson up there. I believe former Governor Jim Folsom is present. The other dignitaries are from our distance, and with the sun right in our eyes, I can't recognize all those people.
I know, too, that one of the things that was confusing to some people was the fact that George Wallace will not be governor until midnight tonight.
That's the Constitution. He has administered the oath today, but Bob James remains governor of Alabama until midnight tonight, at which time the fourth term begins.
The order of things this morning, as far as what you will be seeing, we will start off with the invocation by Reverend Coy Barker of Montgomery. Also, the Star-Spangled Banner will then be performed, the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the administering of all of the different oaths of office will be following in that particular order. But right now, we're going to go back into to this very same location at the steps of the state capitol 133 years ago.
It was surely one of the most unusual inaugurations in state history. A couple of years before, after years of bitter debates, the state capitol was permanently located in Montgomery.
I guess you could say the atmosphere, what George Wallace has referred to on so many occasions as the special dignity of the Southern politician and of the people who participate in events like this.
Yes, sir, and of course today we're going to see several new faces sworn into office. We had an unusually large number of incumbents reelected in 1982, but we're going to see several new faces. We might talk about those in a minute. Certainly one of the youngest and the prettiest face will be that of the new state auditor, Jan Cook, a young lady who came out of nowhere in September and then in November was elected state auditor, succeeding Betty Frank, who could not seek a third term. Another new face will be the new agriculture commissioner. Again, he is well known. He's served in the state senate for 8 years from Madison County. But Senator McDonald will become Commissioner of Agriculture and Industry as McDonald today, replacing Macmillan Lane, who has held the office longer than anyone in history. I believe those are the two new faces. And of course, maybe the most significant of all is that for the first time in history, today on this podium, a black will be sworn into an elected state office. Justice Oscar Adams, who was appointed to the vacancy on the court by Governor Fob James 2 years ago, and then in a truly historic event was elected, the first in Alabama's history, a black to a state position. He will be administered the oath of office today also.
Okay. A little later on in our program preceding the actual beginning of the inauguration, we're going to be telling you about some of the issues, and it's amazing, Bob, in looking back 20 years, that the issues really have not changed that much.
They really haven't. We say the faces change, but in the case of the governor, that face hasn't changed. The Governor Wallace here for a fourth time, but having covered it a long time, as you know, and as you alluded to rather unkindly earlier, that I have been around a while, the issues are basically the same. It's education, and it's roads, and it's the economy, and it's how do we finance the various programs of state government. They've been here forever, and I suppose they always will be.
Great. You know, there's one particular county in Alabama that can look back with pride on at least a half dozen of these inaugurations.
The first county in the order of march would have been Barber, the birthplace of Governor Wallace. Barber County has led so many inaugural parades that it's become old hat. For some inexplicable reason, this thinly populated, isolated county in southeast Alabama has produced more governors than any other county in the
Are Dennis and Chris ready over there?
claim the title of whole of governor.
Yeah.
Depending on how you count them, Barber
I can't. I was going to do it, but I couldn't find it. I'm glad you reminded me.
The five certain Barber County governors are John
Okay.
G. Shorter, William Dorsey
God, where is that?
Alexis Sparks, George Wallace.
Here it is.
Lee Wallace.
I got it. I'm sorry on that. I couldn't find it a while ago.
Braxton B. Coleman, because he was born in Barber County. But he spent most of his life in Jefferson County. The official
5 seconds.
identifies Coleman as being from Jefferson.
A couple of the people that are directly involved in
Give you claustrophobia.
covering Capitol Hill for TV 12 on a daily basis are Chris Grimshaw and Dennis Latham. They're standing by directly in front of the podium. And gentlemen, a lot of things are changing for the next 4 years.
Yes, Bob, definitely will not be the timber of the legislature it was 4 years ago when Fob James took office and decided not to become directly involved in the selection of committee chairmen, assistant presiding officers, the pro tems of the various houses. In the Senate, Bill Baxley, a longtime ally of Governor Wallace, did manage to squeeze out Governor Wallace's man for president pro tem of the Senate. John Teague of Childersburg was elected by acclamation after Earl Goodwin withdrew. Otherwise, in the Senate, the committees which have not been announced yet, they will be as soon as the lieutenant governor takes over as presiding officer. This year, however, or this quadrennium, there's a small change. There'll be about 7 or 8 more committees than there were in the last 10 years, which ensures that at least most members of the House, most members of the Senate, rather, will have a committee chairmanship or a committee vice chairmanship. Chris has been covering the Senate Senate. Chris, I'm sorry, the House, there have been already the committee assignments have been announced there. What does it look like as far as the Wallace influence in the House?
Well, in the House, Bob, there is a great deal of influence by the Wallace administration. In the past, there had been the tradition that the governor would appoint every other committee chairmanship, and during this year, it appears that Mr. Wallace has had a great deal of influence in all of the committee chairmanship appointments, which gives him a great deal of influence in the House. And already with the appointments that were announced last week, there is the appointments that were made, including the Speaker of the House, which was the man which was given the nod of approval by Governor Wallace, which was Tom Drake of Coleman as Speaker. When the committee appointments came out, all of the committee chairmanships reflected the type of Wallace influence that is in the House for labor, for education, and also for the various groups that have given support to Governor Wallace during this latest campaign. So there shouldn't be too much of a problem for Governor Wallace to get his platform and his programs through in the House, and will be a good opportunity to see how Governor Wallace's platforms do, since he won't have too much problem in the House.
Very much. Chris Grimshaw and Dennis Latham, the men on Capitol Hill. We'll be back with more in a moment. Inaugural coverage is coming to you live from Montgomery. Okay, Bob Ingram, we're back again, and one of the people that we would like to talk about a little more, a person who has won the hearts of a lot of Alabamians, and that is, of course, the new First Lady of the state of Alabama, Lisa Wallace.
I suppose there's almost as much interest in our new First Lady as in our governor, because the people of Alabama are so well acquainted with Governor George Wallace, but Lisa is new, and she is a most attractive, very intelligent young woman. She's 34 years old, a native of Jasper. She grew up in Texas after her parents were divorced, but she came back here to graduate from Alabama. She taught school here in Montgomery. She is now working on her master's degree, and she's most interested in several issues. She's going to be an active First Lady. I think she's interested in controlling pornography. She's strong against abortions, child abuse. I think she's going to be a very attractive and very active First Lady.
We're back live at the base of the state capitol in Montgomery. The question has been asked, where did all of this begin for George Wallace? Well, we've prepared a short biographical account of Alabama's most prominent political figure.
1919, George Wallace was the first child in the family of George and Moselle Wallace.
See, what we're having to do is fill that 1 minute.
I didn't realize.
I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear.
Yeah,
that was
I had that much later.
Yeah. Well, when I talk about it, I just...
Small boy,
it's no problem.
The water tank at Clio just to see what it was like. In his early teens, he was seen going door to door, campaigning for Fred Gibson, who was running for Secretary of State. As a high school freshman, he quarterbacked the football team, weighing in at a solid 98 pounds. About this time, he became interested in boxing and went on to win the Alabama Bantamweight Boxing Championships in 1936 and again in 1937. He also had time to serve as president of his senior class at Barber High School and as a page in the state senate. After graduation from high school, it was off to the University of Alabama in 1937, where he captained the freshman baseball team, was a member of the university boxing team, and was elected president of the freshman class. He graduated from law school in 1942, but settled for his first job, driving a truck for the state highway department in Tuscaloosa for 30 cents an hour. It was during this time that he met a 16-year-old girl named Lurleen Burns. She was working in a dime store after graduation from high school and completing a business course. They married in May of 1943, 7 months after George had enlisted as a cadet in the Army Air Corps. Later, he served as a flight engineer on a B-29 called the Sentimental Journey, operating out of the Mariana Islands. After the war, Governor Chauncey Sparks helped George Wallace get a $175 a month job as an assistant attorney general. A year later, he took a 3-month leave of absence to run for the state legislature from Barber County. He won, defeating 2 opponents. He served his first term, leaving the House in 1952 after being elected circuit judge in Barber County. He made his first statewide race in 1958, losing to John Patterson in the governor's race. After a stormy career on the circuit bench in Barber County, George Wallace ran for governor again in 1962, leading Ryan DeGraffenreid in the primary by 46,000 votes. Here's a sample of the rhetoric in that campaign 20 years ago.
I shall work to bring new industry to Alabama during my administration. I want to see a new plant in every city and town in this state within the next 4 years. And I shall travel all over the nation hunting industry that's coming south and telling them of the wonderful opportunities for industrial development within our state in order that the people of Alabama might find employment here in Alabama. You can't solve your problem by having leadership that's rabble-rousing and loud-mouthed, and you know it just as well as I'm standing here this afternoon, and you better not fall down the primrose path, because, my friends, if you do, the dome of the capital of Alabama is going to tumble right down on top of your head, just like it has everywhere else that approach has been followed.
After winning the governor's race in 1962, there have been a number of turning points in the political career of George Wallace. Highlights of his early years in office include the establishment of the junior college and technical school system, 3 textbooks, industrial recruitment and job training programs. Then there was the election of Governor Lurleen Wallace in 1966 and her tragic death in 1968. George Wallace's close call in the 1970 election with Albert Brewer, the lieutenant governor who had succeeded the late Governor Lurleen Wallace. Wallace trailed Brewer in the primary, but came back after an incredibly bitter 3-week runoff campaign to win election by 30,000 votes. Then came the near-fatal assassination attempt in Laurel, Maryland in 1972, which left Wallace paralyzed but far from out of the political mainstream of the nation and Alabama. There were presidential races in 1964, 68, 72, and briefly in 1976. George Wallace made a significant impact on the national political structure by making both parties aware of the wide base of support for conservative choices on a variety of political, social, and economic issues. George Wallace was re-elected governor in 1974, could not succeed himself in 1978, the year of the new beginning. But in 1982, George Wallace came back strong, defeating a fellow Democrats and a strong bid from a Republican challenger to be here today, taking the oath of office for a 4th time.
But what about the man who's leaving office? Reporters Dennis Latham and Chris Grimshaw spent a morning with Fob James, who talked about some of his accomplishments and shortcomings.
Budget isolation passed. I believe the people vote on it.
That didn't go over so well with the gallery.
The crime package, we campaigned for it, we passed it, and you know, stage is set for that to be run right back through.
Excuse me.
The Constitution.
How long is this?
Election feature number 3.
I made early on.
We're going to have time to do those?
Yeah.
Wallace is about to come to the stand.
An entire new constitutional special session.
Well, they're not supposed to start for another.
Was a strategic error on my part. I should have picked the several areas that I wanted to amend, come back in a special session, isolated them to amend it. You're absolutely right. Plans, benefit package, we did not get.
Hope she doesn't start this early. Roger, can you hear me? Does it appear that she's getting ready to start early up there? Tell him to play the music.
Governor. Bob, he is here. I thought he would be.
Budgeting. We failed to do that. I am interested in what the current Senate is talking about.
We don't need those kids in that truck there between us and them.
That's the case where I think
Stay down.
we put it out there to see that Mace Bryant here is out with what I understand is going on.
10 seconds. The one part of all gubernatorial inaugurations is the Bible, on which the governor takes his oath. short.
1852 to save one. But its time of authority is just as he used it when he took the oath of office as President of the Senate.
It's been a late arriver.
However, a more correct title, historically speaking, would be the State Bible. The Bible was purchased in 1852 for John Winston's inauguration. The leather-bound Bible.
All right, now we need to fill here. What do you want to talk about?
Book dealer named George Montague. Governor Winston earned a
We can
footnote in history and
follow up on the Bible. If it's open,
Okay.
it'll be on Isaiah
Okay.
9:8. We do a little scripture on it.
All right, what else after the Bible? 10 seconds.
Good morning.
Oh, gosh, she's starting early.
Governor George Wallace,
What do we do, Roger?
state of Alabama's 56th inaugural program. The music you just heard.
Bob, the Bible that we've been talking about traditionally is open to a particular passage of Scripture.
Yes, it's normal. If it is open, it will be open to Isaiah 9:6, which is a very well-known messianic prophecy. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. That's the key phrase. And if the Bible is open today, and I'm not sure it will very likely be open to that particular verse, Isaiah 9:6.
So now the Bible is a part of the State Archives and History building
Yes, it has
also.
been kept there since 1852, as we said a moment ago. It was bought for Governor Winston, who incidentally was the first native-born Alabamian to be elected governor. And it's been used in every inauguration, save one that we mentioned earlier, in all the inaugurations. It's quite a historic
This is
document.
a day
Now,
for humility.
the actual beginning of the ceremonies, the preamble, I guess you could say, are underway. We alluded a few minutes ago to the fact that things really haven't changed that much. Well, as you can tell, that is exactly the case today. When it comes to the issues of state government, things have not changed a lot since George Wallace campaigned back in 1962, and here's what we mean.
Please pray with us as we are led in the invocation by the Reverend Coy Barker. Please stand.
Alabama entitled has been a
Well, she decided to start 8 minutes early.
Would you bow your head with us, please? Dear Heavenly Father, your word urges us to pray for those in authority. We may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. So today, Lord, we look to you as our total source of strength and prosperity for our Governor-elect George Wallace. May your loyalty and truth guard his body and support his office as governor of the great state of Alabama. May your sacred truth be his guiding principle.
Hey, Roger,
Your word
I'm just going to go ahead and let's just take it over there.
and honest and fair, his administration will stand secure. Your word admonishes rulers to maintain justice and righteousness. We pray today that you will help Governor George Wallace to faithfully administer justice by not neglecting the poor or the rich, by especially protecting the poor. For your word declares that a ruler who is fair to the poor shall have a long term of office. We know, Lord, that it requires great integrity and moral courage to withstand the temptations of worldly policy and self-interest. We therefore pray that you will send divine help to our governor-elect today. He may govern our beloved state with uprightness and consistency. Your own throne is built and established by justice.
Don't worry about it.
Can be the only stability.
Just come to me and then I'll throw it there.
We thank you, Lord, that you have given us another governor who is prepared to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead. We ask, Lord, that your presence and
We're in the middle of the invocation now with the Reverend Coy Barker of Montgomery.
this great state of Alabama. We ask all of these favors in the mighty, wonderful name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. We feel so blessed to be Alabamians, and we feel privileged to be Americans. We are thankful to be part of the United States of America, over which our Star-Spangled Banner flies. We will now be led in our national anthem by the 151st Army Band, and you're invited to sing out. Our loyalty to our state brings us here today, and we reaffirm our loyalty to our country as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the Reverend Robert L. Hope.
Pledge the allegiance of the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and with its squares, and for and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Now, this inaugural ceremony is for the formal induction of all our elected state officers, and we will now have the oath of office for the Honorable C.C. Torbert, Jr., Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, administered by the Honorable Pelham Merrill, Associate Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, retired.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right, and repeat after me. I, Clement Clay Torbert, Jr., solemnly swear
I, Clement Clay Torbert, Jr., solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
and that I will faithfully and honestly
and that I will faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter
upon which I am about to enter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Justice C.C. Torbert, Jr. will now administer the oath of office to the Honorable Jan Cook, Auditor. Chief Justice Torbert.
I ask the Honorable Jan Cook to come forward for the purpose of taking the oath of office. And I believe that she brings her grandparents to witness this event by holding the Bible. And I'll ask you, Jan, to place your left hand upon the Bible and the right hand pointed towards heaven and repeat after me your oath of office. I, Jan Cook,
I, Jan Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
as long as I continue a citizen thereof,
and that I will faithfully and honestly
and I will faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter
upon which I am about to enter
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Judge.
Your good friend at Liberty National will give you the best in personal service.
We'll be back after station identification. Realize there's who's swearing we ain't gonna get.
Who?
Annie Laurie Gunner, she's gonna raise.
She'll swear it's by design.
Her son and his wife hold the Bible.
The national man is shaking his head in dismay.
Now, if you will please raise your right hand, your left hand being upon the Bible, and repeat after me. I, Annie Laurie Gunner, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Alabama, so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I shall faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations to you. And now the Honorable Albert McDonald, newly elected Commissioner of Agriculture and Industries, and his wife, Mrs. McDonald. Shirley. If you will place your left hand upon the Bible and your right hand pointing towards heaven, and repeat after me. I, Albert McDonald. I, Albert McDonald. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Alabama. So long as I continue a citizen thereof. And that I shall faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations to you. And now I would like to present the Honorable
Welcome back to Montgomery, Alabama, live at the base of the state capitol, the inauguration of George C. Wallace. We're in the midst of the swearing-in ceremonies for the constitutional officers for the state of Alabama. Let's go back to the podium and Chief Justice Bo Torber.
If you'll place your left hand upon the Bible and your right hand upwards to the heaven and repeat after me. I, Hugh Maddox,
I, Hugh Maddox,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
and that I shall faithfully and honestly
and that I shall faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter
to
the best of my ability,
the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations to you. Now I'd like to recognize and introduce the Honorable Sam Beatty, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Alabama, and his wife, Mrs. Beatty. Justice Beatty, if you will place your left hand upon the Bible and your right hand upwards and repeat after me. I, Sam Beatty,
I, Sam Beatty,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
and I shall faithfully and honestly
and I shall faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter
upon which I am about to enter
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to you. May I introduce to you the Honorable Oscar W. Adams, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Alabama, for the purpose of taking his oath of office, accompanied by his daughter Gail, who will hold the Bible. You'll place your left hand upon the Bible and your right hand pointing to the heavens and repeat after me. I, Oscar W. Adams,
I, Oscar W. Adams,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
And I shall faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to you. May I now present to you the Honorable Jim Folsom, Jr., who is to take his oath of office as Commissioner of the Public Service Commission, and his lovely wife and his mother. His left hand upon the Bible and his right hand pointed upward. Repeat after me. I, Jim Folsom, Jr.,
I, Jim Folsom, Jr.,
do solemnly swear
that
I shall support the Constitution of the United States
I shall support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
And I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to you, Jim Folsom. Now may I present the Honorable Lynn Greer, also a Commissioner, Public Safety Commission, and his wife for the purpose of taking the oath of office. Place your left hand upon the Bible and your right hand pointing towards the heaven, and repeat after me. I, Lynn Greer, do solemnly swear that I shall support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Alabama, so long as I continue a citizen thereof. And I shall faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations to you, Lynn.
Inaugural coverage is coming to you live from Montgomery.
Thank you. We will continue the oaths of office after these announcements of general interest. Governor and Mrs. George Wallace cordially invite you to the inaugural concert at the Sidney Lanier High School Auditorium tonight at 7 p.m. The program will be produced and directed by James Hatcher of the University of Alabama in Birmingham and Town and Gown. The concert will feature the Alabama Symphony Orchestra, the 160-voice Tuskegee Institute Choir Ensemble, the Town and Gown Theater, and special guest artists from across Alabama. The public is invited without charge. Later tonight, the public is invited to attend a dance sponsored by the Legislative Wives and Husbands, and this will be at Garrett Coliseum. The dance begins at 9 p.m. and coats and ties are required for men. We will now continue with the administering of the oaths of office, and the Honorable Leslie B.
We're back with the inauguration ceremonies. Marge Payne, the Mistress of Ceremonies, introducing now the Honorable Don Siegelman for his oath of office.
I have my wife, Lori, with me today, who's going to hold the Bible for me. Governor, I'm pleased to be with you and your family to share in your joy. 4 years ago, my father administered this same oath as I entered my first term as a public official. Having my father administer the oath impresses upon me in a very personal way my responsibility to do the very best job I can, as well as to work as hard as I can. Apparently, Governor, my father also enjoys administering the oath. He told me a few minutes ago that if I'd give him just one more chance, he thought he might have the oath of office memorized. So, Dad?
Don, will you please place your left hand on the Bible that Lori holds? Raise your right hand to heaven and repeat after me, please. I, Don Sigelman,
I, Don Sigelman,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama
as long as I continue to be a citizen thereof,
as long as I continue to be a citizen thereof,
and that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office of Secretary of State
and that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office of Secretary of State
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Don, and good luck.
Thank you. Lieutenant Governor Baxley, Speaker Drake, I am optimistic that the legislature will accomplish a great deal during the next 4 years. I'm also pleased that we have already begun working together to solve some of Alabama's election law problems. Governor, I look forward to working with you during the next 4 years to help implement some common sense solutions to some of Alabama's more critical problems, such as unemployment. I look forward to working with you, Governor, because I feel that we share a basic philosophy, and that is that people have a right to participate in all phases of their government, from everything from registering to vote to running for office to such fundamentally important tasks as rewriting the state's constitution. My congratulations go to each new office holder and your families, and my sincere appreciation to all of those who made my re-election possible. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Charles A. Graddick, the Attorney General, will have the oath of office administered to him by the Honorable Daniel McCall, Jr., Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, retired, after which Attorney General Graddick will address us briefly.
Please repeat the oath of office. I, Charles A. Graddick,
I, Charles A. Graddick,
solemnly
swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama
so long as I continue a citizen thereof.
So long as I continue a citizen thereof.
And that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Governor Wallace, Governor James, Governor Patterson, Lieutenant Governor Baxley, Judge McCall, my fellow Alabamians, as I look out at each one of you here, I know that I am the most fortunate person in the state of Alabama today, not because of the office to which you've re-elected me, but because of the tremendous support that you have given me over the past 4 years and because of the friendships that I have made. I am deeply honored to be returned to the office of Attorney General. I can assure you that there's no greater privilege for my wife, Corinne, and our 3 children and myself than the opportunity for public service which you have given us. The past 4 years have held great challenges for the people of Alabama. Together, we have worked hard, very hard, for laws, stronger laws against crime, and to give our law enforcement personnel the best tools we can provide. I'm extremely proud of the accomplishments we made in the office. I'm proud to say that the Attorney General's office has been a moving force behind the much change in Alabama over the past 4 years, and therefore much progress has been made. We have fought hard to uphold the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens, to imprison criminals and keep those criminals locked away for their punishment and for our safety. I'm also very proud that this state now has a consumer protection law, which I believe has enriched the quality of life of every Alabamian. Likewise, I honestly feel that our prosecution of corrupt public officials has resulted in a cleaner government. Another source of great satisfaction to me was the blocking of a mass release of a bunch of dangerous criminals back onto our streets in Alabama by the federal courts. We have protected our state's precious and beautiful waterways from pollution. We have encouraged the clean use of our natural resources to provide the jobs that Alabamians need so desperately. The safety of your children and my children who attend our fine public schools in Alabama has been of great concern to me, and we have provided the means to remove health hazards from their classrooms. These and many other programs to improve the safety and well-being of Alabamians have been our common goals, and I think together we've accomplished some great things. We've made a start, but it's only a start. We've made a good start toward the people of this state having a safer and more comfortable place to live. But much work lies ahead in the next 4 years, and I pledge to you that I will continue everything that we've started. Today, though, is not only a day for looking back over the past 4 years, more important, it's a day for looking forward to the next 4 years ahead. I begin this new term of office with great anticipation and expectation. For while we cannot deny that Alabama has more problems than she desires, we also know that she has more answers than she has used. As we travel through the 1980s, our greatest challenges lie in our ability to recognize the problems and realize our ability to solve them. I pledge my full and unstinting support to Governor Wallace and to Lieutenant Governor Bill Baxley, to the members of the Alabama legislature, and to all of the people of this state as we today renew the processes of government. As I have traveled across Alabama during the past 4 years, I have been tremendously impressed with the extraordinary people that live in our state. Alabamians have a great deal of pride and common sense, and they are willing to work very hard. They expect from their public officials the same effort and honesty, and they should receive no less. I firmly believe that there is nothing that cannot be overcome and no goal that cannot be reached if we work together. I ask you again, as I did 4 years ago, give me your advice, your support, your prayers during the coming term of office. My heartfelt thanks to each of you for making it possible for me to be here today and for being here to share today with me. I also want to invite each and every one of you to an open house in my office immediately following these ceremonies. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for giving me what I consider the greatest job in Alabama. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have the Honorable William J. Baxley, Lieutenant Governor. We'll have the oath of office administered by the Honorable L.S. Moore, Circuit Judge retired. After the administration, it seems like one at times. Let's try that again, want to? The Honorable William J. Baxley, Lieutenant Governor, will have the oath of office administered by the Honorable L.S. Moore, Circuit Judge retired. After the administration of the oath of office, Lieutenant Governor Baxley will address us briefly. Gentlemen.
I present to you the Honorable William J. Baxley, Lieutenant Governor-elect of Alabama, and his lovely wife, who will be here with us. I now administer the oath of office to him. You place your hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I, William J. Baxley.
I, William J. Baxley.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Alabama.
And the Constitution of the State of Alabama.
So long as I continue a citizen thereof.
So long as I continue a citizen thereof.
And that I will faithfully and honestly.
And that I will faithfully and honestly.
Discharge the duties of the office.
Discharge the duties of the office.
Upon which I am about to enter.
Upon which I am about to enter.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Judge Moore, Governor Wallace, and Governor James, and all the other office holders and guests and friends. I've got very strong emotions about saying anything today because there's really not much that needs to be said. We're known and we're remembered so much more by what we do than by what we promise or what we say. But still, I suppose some remarks would be in order. This is primarily the governor's day. He's the quarterback. All the rest of us are bit players, perhaps blocking backs or whatever. I do want to pledge to Governor Wallace that I will cooperate with him in every way that I can, and to the other office holders that I will try to cooperate with them to the very best of my abilities. The remarks that I want to make have to do with what we read not just in this state, but in this nation. We read every day and hear every night on the news about the terrible condition of our state, or the terrible condition of our economy, or the terrible condition of our nation. It tends to make all of us a bit pessimistic when we hear this stuff over and over and over again, and certainly we're facing hard times. Everybody knows that. But I think when we read about the condition of the state, or the condition of this fund or that fund, too often we overlook the prime condition that we should be concerned about. And that's not the condition of something abstract, but the condition of the citizens, the individual citizens, if you please, that make up this state. And I'm much more worried going into this office about the condition of those people that are out of a job in Florence and in Gadsden and in Birmingham, and those people that are in Mobile, and those people on our farms from one end of this state to the other that are soon going to be out of a job because they can't make a living farming the land. And I think that we've got to pull together, every office holder and indeed the citizens, to do something about the condition of the people that matter. And that's the condition of these citizens, of these people that have made this country and this state great. I know all too often it's easy to not try to find a solution because you think the solution's too hard or it's out of grasp or out of reach. You might say, well, these problems are caused by something national or even international in scope, so there's nothing we can do about it here. But I submit to you that every problem in the history of this universe, and every problem now has a solution. And it just might very well be, if we pull together in Alabama here, that we in Alabama may very well find the solution to these problems that affect us and affect our whole nation, and indeed our world. Let's work together to find a solution. We know one thing, that every child that is born, and their children being born right now as I speak all over this world, is continuing evidence that God is not yet discouraged with human beings, lest us don't get discouraged. Thank you for this honor. I'll try to serve to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Inaugural coverage is coming to you live from Montgomery.
And now Dr. S. Richardson Hill will present the task force report. Dr. Hill?
Dr. S. Richardson Hill is about to present a task force report that has been compiled for the governor's office dealing with the particular economic conditions in the state of Alabama.
To submit to you today the report of the governor's task force on economic recovery. It is the hope and intention of each of us that our report will assist you in bringing Alabamians together in support of the kind of actions necessary for the economic recovery and future development of this great state. It has been my privilege for these last 5 weeks to chair a group of 64 outstanding individuals, many of whom are here today, Governor, who have labored diligently and unselfishly, even during the holiday season, in response to a very demanding challenge. From its initial meeting on December the 9th, the task force has considered its charge to be to present to the governor its best judgment.
We'll be back after station identification.
Over the next 4 years, help create the conditions for economic recovery and accelerated economic development. The task force carried out its work in 5 committees: industrial and technological development, natural resources and agriculture, education, human services, and governmental operations. And the sum of the committee reports, as reviewed and modified by the entire membership, constitute the overall report. Although the specifics are found in the committee's work, certain conclusions of a general nature emerged during the course of deliberations concerning what must be done to ensure Alabama's economic future. First, in the modern world economy, the competition for the most desirable type of development has, for many reasons, become extremely intense. As a result, relative factors such as a state's external image, business climate, educational and human services, culture, and general quality of life make an enormous importance in determining the success or failure of specific developmental efforts. Second, the task force found that the advance of science and technology has altered the very nature of economic development. No longer can manufacturing and agriculture provide...
I'm Bob Howell along with Bob Ingram at the state capitol in Montgomery, Alabama. We're listening to remarks from Dr. S. Richardson Hill, who is presenting the findings of a task force dealing with Alabama's current economic conditions.
Constitute a sound basis for progress. Today, the premium is on those elements which support technology, the education system, engineering resources, communications, and research. Given these realities, the task force has found Alabama unprepared to fulfill its economic potential. The state does not now have fully in place the basic infrastructure and related conditions necessary to compete successfully. Accordingly, the task force has recommended that Alabama make substantial investments in those kinds of systems, energy, transportation, education, and human services, which must be present as a foundation for economic recovery. Further, because Alabama, even in better times, does not have substantial financial resources, it must make the most efficient and effective use of all available public funds. In the view of the task force, this will require major changes in the operation of state government. To make these investments, to achieve these efficiencies, will not be easy tasks, but they must be accomplished if Alabama is to recover and to develop. It will require the understanding and support of the public at large, something which will not occur without an unprecedented unity of purpose among the state's leadership. The report of the task force is intended to assist the governor in bringing about the kind of commitment and relative resolve which will be required. The work plan followed by each of the task force committees included undertaking a current analysis of the state's problems and prospects in each area, identifying a set of broad goals to be achieved, and for each goal developing specific recommendations for action by state government. Each of the committees and the task force as a whole faced the problem of how to finance the investments required for economic recovery. A substantial part of the answer lies in making better use of the resources which are already available. At the same time, however, actually increasing revenues will no doubt be necessary. Accordingly, it was a consensus of the task force that there be an immediate review of the state's overall tax structure in order to determine the levels of current effort and capacity and to identify over and underutilized tax sources. The results of such a review would then provide a rational basis for bringing Alabama's tax system into line with its competitor states in the region. A few other specific recommendations for the committees are as follows. Establish a high-level labor business policy group to work for a constructive economic climate which is competitive with other states in terms of attracting